So without further ado, you heard him on radio, you see him on TV. Now here he is live to speak at you. Excellent, nice one.
I'll be which, Wilfred? Bonjour, et nous maganitok, Roban quit Nigo. Quake Kivaske, Ozome Tangaran, Disnikas, Pajusha and Dotem. Abache and G Kanda, Pijayano, Magi, Kino, Mate, we got me home. Kibuju and in him, the dinner with Margana. We scomed on and what ma Nichkianze, Odete, Kibuju in Minoa, Jerry. Oh. Or as we like to say in English, hey, what's up? How are you guys doing today? Good. You guys are sounding real excited right now. Let me ask you again, how are you guys doing right now? All right, I heard 300 goods and 1 tired. So thank you, sir, for your honesty. Thank you kindly. So I would like to begin in the language Anishinaabe, because it's the way that we were taught to introduce ourselves by our elders, but also because language is key to understanding how our ancestors and how the practitioners of our culture view the world. So when you're working in the field of science, you might think of it from a different perspective if you thought of it in the language. So for instance, in our language, a star is animated in our language. I encourage you all to pursue your traditional languages as well as science. So I wanted to do a quick song to get my little talk here started. Are you guys all right with that? Okay. Yeah. Let me ask you guys again. Are you guys cool if I sing a song? All right, but I need your guys' help. I need someone's help because I don't have a mic stand. So, can I have somebody who created a science fair project? So you had a project on display here. Come and help me out and be my living mic stand. Who wants to do it? All right, how about you? You seem very, very brave. And you have no shoes, so that's good. All right, and what is your name?
Peyton.
All right, everybody say bonjour to Peyton. Say tante. Say wache. Bonjour. What else am I missing here? Wash day. Say wash day. All right, okay. Can you hold the mic for me? You guys still hear me? Okay. The melody to this song was composed by a young woman by the name of Tiana Spotted Thunder, and I made the words for it. So hopefully you guys like this. a Buffalo soldier, stood up to Canada. He's a father of Manitoba. And how did Fontaine get the apology? He told the story, then he said, come on, follow me, that's the gift. I guess I'll pass it on like the teachings at the Sundance passed before dawn. And how did one need take a knife to the ribs and represent this country? Damn shit, forgive. And how did Tommy Prince fight for Canadian people when right here at home he wasn't considered an equal? Overseas she fought with the heart of a warrior and came back here to be treated like a foreigner. So yeah, I'ma live real lavish for all the time that they call our people savage. Shines for you, Yahweh. Oh, how I miss our time together. Can't wait till you get home. Hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, keep up the faith. They put the first native saint in the proper place. And how did Buffy St. Marino to keep on singing? Bury my heart and wounded knee, it keeps on ringing. And how did Freddy Krueger know he had to stand up? When I saw that photo, knew I had to man up. And how did Chief Pagos know to help the white man? Did he understand that others would take his land? But damn, the worst is over now. My bro Adam Beach is on posters on the wall, and this is Big Wog. Still repping the res, though I'm at U of M. No, I won't soon forget what the elders taught me. Always to share. My people don't want to be proud, well I don't care. Cause Tecumseh never sat at a bar getting wrecked, and Crazy Horse never cashed a government check. I said Tecumseh never sat at a bar getting wrecked, and Crazy Horse never cashed a government check. Alright, so hey Painter, tell us what your project was about.
McDonald's food?
And did you discover that it was good or bad for you?
Bad for you?
And why was it bad?
Because it's made out of pig slime and they have no real meat.
And also because there's a ton of sugar in it, and when your body metabolizes sugar, it turns it into fat, right?
Yeah.
Alright, so I'll tell you what I want to do. I brought a blanket here, and just on, my own behalf, to show the fact that I appreciate you guys all coming out here and doing this science fair, creating your science fair projects, I want to give this blanket to Peyton. But I also want you guys all to feel like you have all shared in her achievement and her learning journey, and that you guys have all done this in a good way. All right, so let's give Peyton a round of applause. All right, now I got 200 more blankets to give away. No, just kidding. We're gonna be here all weekend. Yeah, that's awesome. But yeah, give everyone here, give yourselves a round of applause. You guys have done a very good thing. Very awesome, very amazing. I'm just gonna check my email here if you guys don't mind. You guys cool with that? Maybe I'm gonna go on Facebook too. Can I add some of you guys while I'm on here? You guys are like, what's Facebook? I use Snapchat. Right? Who here likes Facebook the most of any social network? By round of applause. And who here likes Instagram the best? And who here likes Snapchat the most? Oh, I think it's a Snapchat crowd. Eh? Cool. What happened to MySpace? Some of my friends are saying, what about Bebo? If you're still on Bebo and you're at the high school science fair today, we need to have a talk. So I wanted to talk to you guys about being leaders, because to me, you are all leaders by coming down here and participating in the science fair. Do you guys feel like you're leaders? No? Well, let me try and win you over the next 20 minutes. Because you have taken the initiative, you have gone out and you have sought new knowledge for yourself. You have left your community and you have come here to participate with many other leaders from across the province. So in this way, you are leaders. But one thing that's really cool about Anishinaabe culture, Cree culture, OG Cree culture, Dakota culture, Dene culture, is that our elders work hard to cultivate leaders, to teach the next generation how to be the future chiefs and the future Gitche Anishinaabe of our communities. So I thought I would share a few lessons about leadership with you guys all here today, because if you do choose to follow the professor's call and study science, perhaps pursuing a career in medicine, becoming a doctor, or pursuing a PhD and carrying out research in physics or any of the other natural sciences, then you too would be a leader. And so the first thing that I want to mention is a lesson that I learned from this guy. He runs a $150 billion a year company called GE. You may not be that familiar with it, but if you have a light bulb in your house, or a washer or dryer, or an air filter, or any number of things, you probably own something that this guy's company creates. And I had a chance to meet him a couple years ago, and what he told me on that day always stuck with me. He said, if you want to be a leader, you need to be a student of leadership. So becoming a leader, it doesn't just happen by accident. You need to study what other leaders do. And so I thought I would talk to you all about a few leaders that I've really looked up to in my life. First off is Nelson Mandela. Who here knows who Nelson Mandela is? By round of applause. All right. So you guys aren't like the Toronto Maple Leafs goalie, Jonathan Bernier, who was like at this Nelson Mandela fundraiser, and he said, oh yeah, Nelson Mandela, known way more for his contributions off the ice rather than on the ice. Right? So you didn't know who Mandela was. So you guys are already smarter than one of the Maple Leafs. Is that surprising? Not that surprising if you follow hockey, yeah? So anyway, Mandela, a giant among men, played a huge role in bringing down one of the most unjust regimes that has existed in this world in my lifetime. Just a giant figure, right? So this picture was taken in 1998, I believe, when he came to launch the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund of Canada. And he was at the Sky Dome in Toronto. And I had a chance to meet him. And it was like all the big First Nations leaders from across Canada. The National Chief, Grand Chiefs, Regional Chiefs, all that. And these are people who have stared down the Canadian government and forced the government to blink first. Right? And yet, Mandela's presence, his spirit was so big. He comes into the room and all these leaders are like tripping over themselves trying to introduce themselves to him, right? Like Mandela walks in and they're like, "Hi, I'm Phil," right? That was how big this man's spirit was. And I had a chance to talk to him, so I went up and I gave him a gift of a bundle of sage. It was wrapped in red and black material. And I told him, this symbolizes friendship, brotherhood between our two nations. And then he asked me, "Oh, okay, so the sage that you're giving me, is this something that is indigenous to these lands, or is this something that the Europeans introduced to you?" And I said, no, it's an indigenous tradition. It's been here for millennia. And we sat there talking for 5-10 minutes about this. And to me, that's a real strong example of what a leader should be. Because here's a man who could have the President of the United States on the phone. He could call up and speak to any CEO of the biggest companies in the world. And yet, here I am, some little native kid from the bush in northwestern Ontario, and he's got all the time in the world to talk to me. Right? That's a leader. No matter how small or no matter how humble the person is, you still treat them with respect. And you still accord them that dignity that each one of us deserve. So he passed away about 1.5 years ago, eh? I was driving around listening to it on the radio. I said, Nelson Mandela has passed away. And then I remembered, hey, like 15 minutes ago, I was just yelling at some guy at the gas station for not giving me my proper change. And I was reminded, Nelson Mandela, I am not. Right? But it's still good to have his example to challenge ourselves with, to be better. The second guy I wanted to introduce you to is Obama. You guys are clapping because my picture is on there, right? That's good. Speaking of this picture, a lot of people think this photo is photoshopped, but it's not. It's a real photo. But it's a good lesson. If you're going to take a picture with somebody famous, don't do it in front of a flat background, because everyone will think that it's fake. Do it in front of something with a little perspective in it. So I met Obama in 2008 when he was still campaigning for the Democratic nomination against Hillary Clinton. Okay? And I was thinking, oh wow, it's going to be like meeting Mandela all over again, this guy with the huge presence, you know? But it wasn't like that. It was something totally different. So how I got into the meeting is that my uncle, he works for one of the tribes down in South Dakota. So I called him up, I was like, hey uncle, you gotta get me into this meeting. He's like, well, just come down and we'll see what we can do. So we show up and it's just like on the movies, right? Like Secret Service guys in suits and shades and earpieces in their ear. And we walk up to the meeting and one of the Secret Service guys is holding this clipboard. He's like, all right, listen up. If your name's not on this sheet, you're not getting into the meeting. And I was thinking to myself, like, oh man, I drove all this way, I'm gonna get shot down because I'm just some dude from Canada. My name's for sure not on the list. But my uncle was real slick, right? He like sidles up next to the guy and he like looks at the paper and he's like, yeah, that's him right there. That's Buddy Knife. Points at the Secret Service guy's like, you Buddy Knife? I was like, I didn't want to lie. Yeah, whatever. It's like, all right, get in. So we get into the meeting. We walk in, Obama comes walking in. And it wasn't like Mandela, right? It wasn't like the larger than life thing. Instead, it was like Star Wars. You guys ever watch Star Wars? No. Not I Am Your Father. These aren't the droids you're looking for. That part. You guys know that part? Jedi mind tricks? Jedi mind tricks? Anybody? Yeah. Yes, okay, good, thank you. That's what it was like. He walks in the room, all these chiefs are super skeptical of him, they've all got their arms crossed, because, you know, basically politicians just come and lie to them, year after year, right? So these guys are super skeptical. So Obama walks in though, and it's just like Star Wars, Jedi mind tricks. He comes in, nation-to-nation relationship, overhaul the Indian Health Service, economic development on tribal lands. And by the end of it, all these chiefs who are like sitting there with their arms crossed, all of a sudden they're sitting there like this. And then they go out and run and buy Obama t-shirts and Obama hats, right? And I was watching it that day, and I was like, holy cow, this guy's gonna win, right? And that was super important for me because up to that point in my life, I had a very self-defeating attitude. I thought that because of the way our society works, that somebody such as myself, a First Nations man in Canada, or somebody like him, an African-American man in the United States, could only go so far in society, right? I thought the odds are too long, the deck is too stacked against us. But then I saw him work the room there, and I realized, holy cow, this guy's gonna win. Not because he's a token, not because he's a sellout. He's gonna win because he's better at playing this game than anyone else. And that was a huge moment for me because it changed my mentality. And I recognized in that moment that self-defeating attitudes are self-fulfilling prophecies. Meaning that if you tell yourself that you're not going to do something, you're not going to end up doing it. On the other hand, if you believe that you can achieve, then that is the first step on your journey to success. And that was a huge moment for me. And so since that time, I've been working hard and putting the pieces together and pursuing my own life's journey. And I would encourage you guys all to do the same thing. You know, growing up on a reserve, growing up as a First Nations person in Canada, it's true, you may face more challenges. But it is also true that the road to the top is now open. And the only thing that's going to determine how far you go on the road to the top is how hard you are willing to work and how smart you're willing to be about putting the pieces together. And so if you look around, our country today, our communities today, you can see that that change is starting to happen. My wife is a medical doctor. She studied medicine, she studied science here at the University of Manitoba. And now she is successful by any measure, financially, professionally, socially, personally successful. I have friends like Dave Tuckeroo, who went out and started businesses for themselves and are now owners of companies that clear $100 million a year, have a net worth approaching $1 billion a year, right? And he grew up on his dad's trap line in the north, just like many of the people that we know. So the road to the top is open. Getting an education and pursuing particularly the more technical fields like economics, finance, the hard sciences, mathematics, engineering are the greatest predictor of how far you're going to go on the path to success. Now the final example of leadership that I wanted to share with you guys is one that comes from our own community. And it is our elders, our grandparents, our parents, our aunties, and our uncles. And it is those people who went to residential schools. So show me how many of you have learned about residential schools in your own studies. All right, so that's not bad. But hopefully all of you will learn about it, either at school or in your community. So residential schools were a very harmful part of our people's past, of our community's past. But here's the thing. Our aunties, uncles, parents, grandparents who went to residential schools survived that era. And then later on in life, they stood up and told their stories, and they demanded justice of this country. And this country came back to them and said, you know what? You were right all along. We were wrong. We are sorry. Now that's a remarkable journey, right? When you think about it, it's a journey that began when people were little boys and girls, just like that photo of my father there. little boys and girls, some not much younger than you guys are here today. And they had the government and the churches leveled against them. And yet they survived that. And they went on, and they waited for the country to change. They waited for the churches to change. And then finally, they waited for the government to change. And that's a remarkable, remarkable story of success and triumph in the face of long odds. So I would invite you guys all to study those examples of leadership that we have in our own backyards. And this is my late father, Topsanakwatiban, who himself went through that journey, and you see a picture here on the roof of the Vatican in Rome, having been the victor over his own personal healing journey. So if I can tell you guys anything here today, I will tell you, first of all, I'm proud of you. I'm super happy that you guys came down here to Winnipeg and you put on this great science fair, this great science expo. I'm proud of you for having learned and studied and pursued some knowledge on your own. And what I would tell you is that you should take this experience and carry it with you as motivation and as a source of inspiration for where you might choose to go into the future. Today we live in an era of a knowledge economy. We live in an era where we all have access to the world's combined knowledge through cell phones that we carry in our pockets, right? And so in our communities, we're often debating, you know, should I finish high school? Should I go to university? No, absolutely finish high school. Absolutely finish university. By the time you guys are finishing up school, a university degree won't be enough. You'll also need either a master's degree or a professional degree, like a law degree or a medical degree, okay? Because right now, there are millions of people on the other side of the world becoming educated. China, India are producing tens of thousands of engineers, medical doctors, highly trained technicians every year. And everyone in this room, you are going to be competing with them because we now live in a globalized, pluralistic, multicultural society. So if you want to have a good life, if you want to have the freedom to do what you like, to live in your own community, but also to be able to travel around the world and do fun things, then you should go to school and you should study hard and you should pursue those technical areas of study that are going to allow you to be successful in the future. So with that, I'll say, Miweshka Bizinda Oyek, Kinanasko Mitna Kakiao, Pidamaye, and thank you guys very much for listening to me today. Wow.